In our fight against terrorists, President Trump ordered the launch of decisive and powerful U.S. military deterrence operations against the Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists in Yemen. Following the strikes, Secretary Rubio noted that the president, quote, sent a powerful and clear message. These attacks on U.S. vessels and global shipping must stop, and we will hold you accountable. We will protect our people and freedom of navigation. In furtherance of President Trump's maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime, last week the State Department announced sanctions on Iran's oil minister and shadow fleet that facilitates Iran's illicit crude oil trade. These actions were taken to stop the flow of revenue to the Iranian regime that uses to fuel conflict in the Middle East, advances its nuclear program, and supports its terrorist proxies. And, of course, in conjunction in that dynamic with Iran, that the days of pinprick responses where we allow that to occur is over. That's, I think, a pretty clear statement from the administration as a whole.
And Trump said every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon as a shot fired by Iran. So we're wondering, if Houthis don't back down, is the United States prepared to attack Iran or give Israel to do so?
I think you're referring to President Trump's Truth Social tweet, and I'm sure you all have it on your phones. You should, because I'm going to refer you right back to that tweet. It speaks for itself. During my first briefing, I said that under President Trump, peace through strength is back. That was clear from day one under this administration. The 11 days since my first briefing have further proven it. In an important advancement for peace, America's top diplomat, Secretary Marco Rubio, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz traveled to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, to meet with the Ukrainian delegation. As a result, Ukraine expressed readiness to accept the U.S. proposal to enact an immediate interim 30-day ceasefire to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The ball is now in Russia's court, and even more advances have been made after Envoy Witkoff's visit there as well. Following this historic meeting, Secretary Rubio traveled to the G7 in Canada, where our partners expressed support for a swift end and a durable end to this conflict. And as we pursued peace, our nation also showed strength. Under the President's direction, this administration invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to initiate the removal of hundreds of dangerous members of the Tren de Aragua, a vicious, violent foreign terrorist organization, which has been threatening our nation, conducting irregular warfare, and terrorizing Americans. We express our sincere gratitude to President Bukele of El Salvador for playing a pivotal role in this transfer. As Secretary Rubio said, once again, President Bukele has shown he is not only the strongest security leader in our region, he is also a great friend of the United States. In our fight against terrorists, President Trump ordered the launch of decisive and powerful U.S. military deterrence operations against the Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists in Yemen. Following the strikes, Secretary Rubio noted that the president, quote, sent a powerful and clear message. These attacks on U.S. vessels and global shipping must stop, and we will hold you accountable. We will protect our people and freedom of navigation. In furtherance of President Trump's maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime, last week the State Department announced sanctions on Iran's oil minister and shadow fleet that facilitates Iran's illicit crude oil trade. These actions were taken to stop the flow of revenue to the Iranian regime that uses to fuel conflict in the Middle East, advances its nuclear program, and supports its terrorist proxies. In addition, the State Department will consider revoking the visas of foreigners who have supported Hamas and unleashed anti-Semitic harassment, intimidation, vandalism, and violence on America's college campuses. As Secretary Rubio said on March 6th, those who support designated terrorist organizations, including Hamas, threaten U.S. national security. And we intend to use the Department's broad authority to revoke visas when information comes to light indicating a visa holder may be inadmissible or ineligible under U.S. immigration law. Here's the bottom line. Secretary Rubio's State Department remains committed to advancing the national interests of the United States. Peace through strength is back. Not that we have a lot of things to discuss, and I see it all on your faces, but it is good to be back. I've been away for I don't know, 10 days now or so, but I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Nadia, yes.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Good to see you. I have a couple of questions. On Yemen first, what is the U.S. strategy regarding Yemen? Is it degrading the capabilities of the Houthis that they don't pose a threat to U.S. interests, or is it destroying them completely? Because there's conflicting statements from U.S. officials saying, like, we're not going to interfere with the civil war in Yemen.
Well, what we've seen, of course, in the past when it comes to the Houthis, it was a tit-for-tat strike. If the Houthis would be sending missiles or attacking both commercial and military ships, what the previous administration did is they would do one strike as a tit-for-tat dynamic. What's happening now is a complete shift when it comes to the nature of why it's going on, which is to stop the assault on the maritime traffic in that area. And up to this point, there's about 174 attacks on American naval ships, which is an extraordinary number of attacks. And this isn't a situation that should be managed. It has to stop. So the message to the Houthis is, if this will end when you end the attack on both commercial and military ships in that region. So it's a maritime issue, and it's meant to completely change the posture of the Houthis, and of course, in conjunction in that dynamic with Iran, that the days of pinprick responses where we allow that to occur is over. That's, I think, a pretty clear statement from the administration as a whole as well.
On the visa thing, just
the visa,
quickly.
Sure.
Is the area clear when it comes to revoking visas for foreign students? Are you revoking visas for students who clearly support Hamas and shows literature that's supporting Hamas, or is it also include students who support Palestine or the free, they say the freedom of the Palestinians, or showing sympathy with civilians in Gaza? Is that area very clear?
Well, what Secretary Rubio has been saying on a number of different interviews is that this is about, when you think about someone applying to come into the country to get a visa, if you were to say everything that he ended up doing as would be his goal upon entering the country, we would never have issued the visa. So you have a dynamic, whereas if there's going to be certain kinds of actions that you're going to undertake, that we don't accept that. Every country has a right to control its borders and to determine who's going to come into the country. So in this particular instance, there's also, I know, a freedom of speech argument. But this is not about speech. It's about actions. It's about things that were done. And of course, I don't want to go further because also this is within a court dynamic. America's got the best court system in the world. And there will be arguments on both sides, no doubt, regarding this. But it has to be argued. It has to be litigated. But the actions that we take and the decisions we make are not about content. It's about actions that are occurring, and certainly in that particular case. Yes.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I?
Hi, Tammy.
Hi.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the Houthis question, so President Trump said every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon as a shot fired by Iran. So we're wondering, if Houthis don't back down, is the United States prepared to attack Iran or give Israel to do so?
I think you're referring to President Trump's Truth Social tweet, and I'm sure you all have it on your phones. You should, because I'm going to refer you right back to that tweet. It speaks for itself.
Thank you, Tommy. Daniele Compatangelo for LA7, Italian TV and primetime media. So we both were at the G7 the last week.
Yes, we were.
And the focus was Ukraine. So
yes.
Today in Europe there was European Council. They met, the foreign minister, and they discussed about Ukraine and the European Union proposals. So it seems like there are Europe is very divided right now, like Italy, Spain, Ukraine, Hungary and Slovakia are more aligned to Trump proposal. It's not proposal, but like plan. Sure. And the other ones, more lefties, are like, want to keep giving military aid to Ukraine. So what do you, as a State Department, how do you guys will interact with the European right now? Are we going to go for the Trump plans or the European ones?
I think we're going to go with the Marco Rubio approach, which is to talk to everybody. which is to put out the new ideas, which is to argue for them on the merits of those ideas. That's what happened at the G7. What happened at the G7 was a collection of people who have very different points of view, some big disagreements, but a direct, specific decision mentioned by the Canadian Foreign Minister Joly that we're going to focus on what we do have in common, what we can get done together, and really the importance of the gathering itself and what we can do together. There's a lot of people, I think, that would prefer us to be distracted by the disagreements. But what I've seen Secretary Rubio accomplish is remarkable, and in different environments where there's negotiations between countries attempting to stop war, a ministers' meeting where they're all aligned in some fashion or another and want to work together but have disagreements. I can say this, fortunately, having been there, is that it's been his voice, and I'm proud as an American that it happens to be the American Secretary of State. It's his voice that has brought conversations together, that has brought groups of people together. And we know this is why you need a State Department and why you need diplomats, because everybody's going to have different ideas. Everybody's going to think there's a better way, and we all have investments in the nature of the outcome. America is the strongest country in the world for a reason. All the combination of things we do, but mostly because we are a nation of merit and arguments and speech and the ability for people to be heard and for all of us to have an open mind. That is what Marco Rubio brings to this debate, especially in Europe where there are disagreements. We will, and he expects to, win people over based on the merits of the arguments that we continue to make every day. And I'm going to leave it there, everyone. I'll see you Wednesday and Friday this week if you didn't get enough. There'll be more to talk about. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a great day.